All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to goemonronin's channel. Here with Flip for another rantcast. Um, there's as many of you who watch my channel know. I've had a rough few years and stuff being homeless off and on and uh, having to be in weird situations and stuff. And I've tried to give that information as best I can while it was happening, but maybe I haven't answered everybody's questions out there, and Flip here thought it might be a good idea to kind of
Definitely interesting. I wanted to say it's with the recession and whatnot. It's definitely I can relate, even though I haven't spent a lot of time as really homeless. I was out in Aubrey, living in basically a barn with a concrete floor that me and the landowner there finished out into an apartment. But for a long time, it was really ugly looking walls and spiders descending onto my face in the night, but via their web. You know what I'm saying? Not the nicest. And his wife didn't want me there because she didn't want anybody there. So I always felt like tomorrow I might not even have this, you know?
Right.
So I can relate. Now, okay, so you were in a shelter.
Well, when I got back from China, I was up here in the Denton area.
Okay. Was it
right here,
Salvation Army? I've
Yeah.
heard of that.
No,
Okay.
the shelter I was at.
Yeah.
Loaves and Fishes in Harlingen, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Funny how we talked about religion just a bit ago, and they're funded by churches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got back from China, it was just a weird time to be back. We were in kind of a recession up north, and there was no job market here at the time, and things kind of didn't work out with our mutual friend, and I got sent away.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it's been shelters, being straight up homeless, sleeping on the street, and doubled up homeless. Living at places, on people's couches, which could be worse, but there tends to be a lot of tension
Absolutely.
involved in that.
Yeah. Before I lived here, I was staying at a friend's house, and after a while, I quit a horrible job, so I couldn't pay him any more rent money, and that felt terrible. And he has a new baby, has a baby on the way, so his girlfriend moved in, so there was that. I didn't know her for 10 years, so she's like, "Who's this guy?" And we got a baby on the way. He's got to go, stuff like that. Not a good feeling.
You don't tend to want to cause problems in people's relationships.
Absolutely.
But you're desperate.
Mm-hmm.
You're desperate, and if somebody offers you a place to stay, regardless of how long that is, you tend to jump on it.
Yeah.
But what do you think people out there might want to know?
Okay. So I not been in a shelter myself, so is it just a bunch of cots spread out?
The women's side of the shelter and the men's side of the shelter is generally different. So the men's side is usually like an army bunk.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have a little cot. It's a mattress, but it's narrower than a twin bed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like something you get in prison or the army.
Mm-hmm. A canvas cot on a wood frame or metal frame?
No, there's a mattress.
Oh, okay.
There's a mattress. It's not good. I pretty much wore mine out while I was there.
Yeah. I've had a bad mattress. I lived as a truck driver in a truck over the road for a year, so I know bad mattresses.
They're like that.
Yeah.
That would probably be exactly what we're better.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, they're right next to each other.
And the women get what?
The women, because they might have their kids with them, get their own room.
Wow. Okay, what if it's a woman with no kids?
She gets her own room.
Wow. I guess that's kind of a protection thing, too.
2 women got kicked out of the shelter for masturbating profusely while I was there.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in their room?
Yeah. One woman was using a cucumber on herself right outside the dining area.
I call that asking for it.
Yeah, so they asked her not to come back. She put a condom on it first.
Oh,
you know,
well,
just to be
they were just being
hygienic about it. I was actually there the day she tried to get back in. It was sort of hilarious because they wouldn't really tell her why she wasn't welcome back. They're like, look, if you really want to know, you've
Do
got
you
to
remember what you did?
if you really want to know, you've got to talk to this person. Give her a call Monday when she's back in.
Wow.
And, yeah. And then there's another woman there who had cancer, and they removed this lump, and she was nuts.
Mhm.
Nuts. And she wouldn't go and get, treatment. And then, she's kind of like dying in the shelter, and it's like,
This is not your place.
yeah, we can't have you here with this wound. And
There should be a government-funded thing where you can go be a government-funded hospital.
She wouldn't. She barely let the paramedics into her room at the shelter to treat her.
But yeah, I always find that so interesting.
Sorry about the music. If it's in the video, we have no control over it.
That's a party next door, and I kind of want to go poke my head over the fence because I haven't talked to those people but just a little bit and see how it's going. And they're having a party for somebody that moved in recently, anyway. But you want to stay on topic. Maybe that's a homeless person that just moved in over there. It's like happy days. I don't know.
It's a rant cast about something.
Are we ranting? Is that what you mean?
Dude,
What does rant mean? Does that mean scream shit?
It'll go on about something.
Oh, okay.
So what was that?
We're talking about how women get their own room.
They get their own room and everything.
It makes sense too because then there's not going to be any raping if they want to keep their door locked and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're generally the two parts of the shelter is separated by a really long hallway, and you're locked in at night, so you can't get out.
Huh. Okay.
Curfew. You can check in as early as 6. The latest you can check in is 9. You got to shower before you get in bed.
So no one's going to be in the shelter before 6 p.m.
No.
So they expect go out and find a job and get it together, right? Is that the philosophy?
Their philosophy behind it is pretty much that, and if you're on kind of a fucked up schedule, they get you on one that works because they let you out of there at 7. And
if you're a night worker or something, you mean?
Well, they might make exceptions, or if you're just a night person, because night people don't tend to look for jobs during the day all the time. They just sleep and stuff.
That's interesting.
So they let you out at 7. You get breakfast there. If you want, it's usually something sugary and starchy, pancakes, or used to be. They got a dietitian, so that may have changed. And then you go out and do what you have to do. Go to your job or whatever. Some people have jobs and they're just kind of going through a divorce, or their girlfriend kicked them out. Or,
yeah, really, all kinds of scenarios.
Just all kinds of scenarios, really. I think there are a lot of people that take advantage of the system. We had this one guy who thought he had an STD, but he didn't. He lived in Mexico, and he didn't want to go to a Mexican hospital. So rather than, and he gets a pension from the army and everything, but rather than come up here to Harlingen and stay in a cheap hotel, he just checked into the shelter like a thing teeming with money, which is a bad call anyway.
To even let people know about that one.
Being in a shelter is like a minimum security lockdown. Like they're not going to let you in after 9.
Yeah.
If you don't get in there like at 9 o'clock at the latest, you're screwed.
All right. Here comes probably a naive question. I'm going to ask it anyway for the sake of this. I have a job. Could I just go live in a shelter and save a bunch of money? And I obviously don't want to do that. That sounds like some of the people that be in there you don't want to be around.
Well, you're usually limited to a quarter at the most 90 days, at least in that shelter.
But so feasibly, could I do that?
You feasibly could. People do.
I'm not going to do that.
People do it.
Yeah. Wow.
But you got to be. You have to meet with a caseworker. It's not like you just go in there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And if I was honest, I'd be like, actually, I just have a place and I just don't want to pay for it anymore. I gotta get out.
And they're going to be now, if you were like, I don't know how I'm in it. My wife and I are having trouble. I don't have any family in town. Things are. I don't know when things are going to be back together. They're going to say, here's 30 days, and then
we'll check it out.
We'll talk, and your caseworker, she might be calling people and
checking
and verifying things.
makes sense.
And you can't be out of the shelter for like more than a day.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't miss more than a day or
Yeah.
two.
Okay, that makes sure that you really.
I came up here while I was in the shelter. My dad bused me up here, and it was like a 10-day trip, and it was like pulling teeth to be able to check back in. Like I had to clear it with more than one person.
Yeah.
My case, I was 34 at the time, and my caseworker is calling my dad like in high school or middle school.
Right.
Or whatever. It was really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Actually. But when it came down to being homeless again, I opted to just stay on the street because I just felt too encumbered by their schedule and stuff, and I didn't feel like it allowed me to have any freedom. I'd made a couple enemies in there, and those guys are kind of like the caretakers, you know. They watch everything. They've been there a long time.
But they're homeless guys. You're talking about actual.
They're homeless guys,
residents.
Yeah, they're homeless guys, but they've been there longer than anybody.
Huh.
Because you know they tell the caretaker everything he wants or needs to know.
Equivalent of what used to be called a turnkey, I think, in prisons back.
They are turnkeys.
Back before they got a little bit cleaned up.
Yeah.
Oof.
And then most of these guys are criminals.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys, I mean, like sleeves. I mean, I got some ink, but like these guys are tatted up.
Yeah.
And, you know, just got out of jail or you know,
like a labor-ready force.
Yeah.
So I feel like it from that.
Yeah. And then, you know, you never know who's going to be in there. I mean, people are kind of rough. It's kind of a, you know, do you stay on the street or do you go in there and risk like somebody you were an enemy with last time being in there and like, you know, taking a risk and having a hard time? I mean, if you go in there and that happens, I guess you could just say, look, I don't really trust that guy. I'm gonna just thanks, but yeah, I'm gonna pass on it. But actually, outside the shelter is a good place to sleep.
Pretty close by.
Well, you know, the caretaker usually runs around there at night, so you know he knew me, and
I see.
you know, he'd make sure I was okay.
That's interesting. Here's a question that I think I can already answer myself. Okay, when you leave, you pretty much take all your stuff with you, or anything that. I mean, if you're leaving it there, you're pretty much saying, "Hey, it might not be here when I get back." Right?
Yeah. If you just bail and you don't come back, you have like 3 days or something, and then they put it in this room, and then it becomes everybody's. Like your shoes will be gone, your belt will be gone, your this, that, or the other will be gone. You know, it's a rough way to live, but you know, like it's a trade-off. It's you go outside, risk getting mugged or rained on at night, or whatever. Do you come to the shelter just to eat? Stuff like that. And then there's the other issue, transportation. Harlingen's not a big town. It's like 9 miles long, but I've walked across it a lot. I mean, it's like a 4-mile walk to work and a 4-mile walk back.
Pointing at our time.
You gonna do a part B to this one?
It's up to you.
Let's do a part B. We'll be right back.